Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. I'm Howie. And before I introduce the rest of the characters here tonight, I want to thank our sponsor, DJEventPlanner.com. And they'll be in the description down below, along with all our other sponsors, and when this gets published to YouTube. So, buddy, thank you for being here. And we have Eric. And of course, we have Brian, as always, and Jay, as always. We have Matt from Georgia Lina. I love saying that. And the Great White North. We have Aaron with us. Aaron, your mic is muted in case you want to get in on this.
Yeah.
I've been thinking, lately, and I don't know why it just keeps coming back, but the topic is, how do we keep ourselves and our gear secure and safe at a gig? Because I myself was robbed one time in my 20s when I had a U-Haul truck, and we were loading out, put a big Marshall lamp in there, went back in for some more stuff, came out, and the Marshall was gone. So ever since then, I either, lock up. I mean, it's a pain in the butt, but I either lock in it, if I'm on my own, when I go to get something, then I have to unlock, put stuff in, lock it, blah, blah, blah. And the second thing I do is if I'm lucky enough to have someone with me, and it's always like, hey, one person always stays with the truck. Somebody brings something out, he stays, and the guy runs in, grabs something else, and we pre-stage that at the door. So, how do you guys keep yourself protected?
I think when it comes to a Marshall amp, because I've dealt with bands before that have gotten ripped off, and 9 out of 10 times it was either they knew what time the club closed and when the loadout was, or they just were lucky enough to be driving by and saw a slanted 412 cab and said,
right,
oh, that's valuable.
Yeah.
I mean, for weddings and things like that, I feel pretty safe because I only allow myself to do events in areas where I'm okay. And, the other night, the venue allows me to park about 100 feet from the gear. And at the end of the night, I take, and this is religious, if you don't do this, I've had this since, it's got both laptops in it, since 2008. And this holds the laptops, the headphones, the mic, the chargers, the hard drives.
Right.
And at the end of the night, the first thing to go is that stuff. It goes into the car, on the floor in the front seat. And it's also the last thing to come out of the car. So I'll pack the gear up, get the car, drive over. If it's too far away, I'll instill the banquet captain, a waitress, a waiter. I have no shame when it comes to this. I want someone watching the gear. If there's a full drunk crowd, I'll even go so far as to wait.
Yeah.
I mean, you're at a golf course, you're at a cool place. If I'm in the city and I'm not at a hotel, but I'm at a nightclub doing like a private event, I make an arrangement ahead of time saying, hey, I need help for loadout, meaning I'll take all the gear and make it one trip, but I need somebody in security or a back room to leave it till I can get my vehicle there. Because I've had to push gear through downtown San Diego. I did it once. I won't do it twice. So I think just always being, having your wits about you. And also don't leave anything easy to get stolen. Pulse got a pair of headphones ripped off before a wedding one time. And he determined it was staff or somebody just happened to peek in the room. So, if you've got a room set up and you're doing a ceremony 200 feet away, don't leave your laptop and hard drive set up. Don't leave your headphones. Don't leave something someone could pick up and wander out with. They're not going to pick up your controller. They're not going to pick up your 15-inch powered speaker. Those are the things that they're not going to touch.
Yeah, they don't know
But
how
a
to
pair of headphones, yeah, why not? They've had a couple of drinks. Sure, let's steal the DJ's headphones, or let's take this hard drive, or especially laptops. They don't go up. I might even test and then put them away. But yeah, I think a lot of times, unless you can't help it, you're in a dive bar, you're in a bad part of town, and then you know what? Find $100 or $200 and just say, "Hey, I'm done at 11:30. Do you mind if you're not doing anything? Can you swing by? Keep an eye on the truck. I'll give you $50. I need you for 10 minutes." Seriously? Yeah. That's awesome. I'll do it. And like you did, Howie, rely on somebody to stay with the gear. I mean, that's
always. Yeah.
Always.
Yeah. How about you, buddy?
Well, one of the things,
like carrying a gun,
kind of what Jay said, far as, watching where you're at, knowing the venue you're at is a big thing. But if you have someplace that you may feel that you may need an extra hand, having an extra hand, lucky thing I have Tracy that works with me. We have a couple employees when we do bigger events. But I used to event this past summer that we're on two opposite ends of the property. And the property, it's like 80 acres, and they have multiple events going on at the same time. The building we're just with the staff there in the building, but I stayed there while Tracy and our employee went to go do the ceremony because, again, I don't want stuff walking away. And it's one of the things I go back to my retail management. If there's there's always an opportunity for people to take things, but if they feel that they're being watched, they're not the likelihood of them taking something is very little. It's something that you don't give them the opportunity to do something. And, you have to watch your gear, and protecting your gear. Stuff is expensive, especially a laptop walking out. Just like how much music you have on that hard drive. And then if you're at a wedding or a party or whatever it is, you don't have that music. How can you perform? How can you do stuff, And because that's your library, and that's the important stuff. But keeping a golden eye, taking everything in at one time, taking everything out one time, I think it's a very important, but also knowing where you're at. If you're at an area that, again, you have to work because you have to, and it's kind of a questionable area, calling a friend, do the phone a friend and say, "Hey, can you mind watching this for a little bit? You might come and give me a hand for a little bit. I'll pay you a few bucks." Sure. It's worth it. It's $50 out of your pocket for protecting your gear versus replacing gear. I don't care how good your insurance is. You still got to pay deductible. You still got to pay for all incidentals. You still got to pay for other things. And it's a time and effort that takes away from your day. So I would say spend a few bucks and have someone help you.
Excellent. Who else is up?
I'll go.
You wanted to say something there, Eric. Go ahead.
I'll go. I like everybody else is saying, it's smart to know where you're going to be at. And, like Buddy, like my wife used to go with me a lot, and I'd be the one that'd stand at the vehicle and she'd go get the stuff, I would bring out a laptop bag and use my inhaler. Go get the rest of the stuff. I'll wait here. No, I'm just kidding. But anyway, she was the big help. But I'm glad somebody caught that. Yeah. Anyway, we were at Lowell, Mass. I do a lot of gigs, and believe me, that's not the safest place in Lowell. So I will usually and these are like off nights too that I'll work, and I don't trust any night down there. And so when I get there, usually an employee will greet me as I'm pulling up. He'll stand there and we'll take turns bringing stuff in, and vice versa at the end of the night, getting it out. Because you can't trust anybody. And I do the same thing as you, Jay, with the laptops. Last thing out, first thing in. You got to. Always.
You have to.
First thing I pack up, too. Laptops, drives, and they pack up first. But, it's just like everybody else was saying. You've got to know your environment, where you're at. And there have been times where I've been alone where I had to lock it. Take what I can, lock it, come back out. It's a pain, but you got to do it. I mean, you got to. And that's it.
Alrighty.
Eric, I got a question for Eric real quick, if you don't mind me asking there. Do you do it like an inventory sheet too? Like inventory, like what you brought in, what you take out?
No, it's in here because everything's. It's. I don't need that. I don't do that. I got a bag. I got a spot for everything. And I don't know if something's missing. So that's my inventory sheet. It's just okay. This spot's empty. Something goes there.
Oh my God! They took the RCA cable.
Oh my God!
Yeah, right.
How am I gonna plug in my new mark?
Yeah.
Someday when you get Pioneer DJ gear and you're a DJ, we can talk about how you do that.
Oh, wow. Oh,
I used to have Pioneer. I got a job. Okay?
Yeah. All right. Hey, Aaron, what do you got for us, Aaron?
I do kind of similar to what Jay does. When I get to a venue and I'm going to unload, especially if I don't know the area, if I don't know where, I know most of my areas pretty well. I go inside and I make friends with the staff right away. I walk in, I find the coordinator, if I'm doing a wedding, or I find the banquets manager or whoever it happens to be. I go in and I find some staff and I make friends with them right away. And I'm like, hey, do you got a concierge? Do you have somebody here? I need somebody with me just to hang out and watch us for a second. And if that's not a possibility, say I'm working at a dive bar in some place, I do it in small increments and I leave everything locked up in the truck. And I don't use a traditional laptop bag. I learned that a long time ago, that if you use a traditional suitcase style laptop bag, everybody knows what that is. So if you go to a different style case, I use one that's like a longer case, so the laptop sits longer inside and it looks just like a strap bag. People just look at it and they're like, oh, it's guitar straps or something like that. They don't know my computers are in that bag. And that bag is on me when I go into the event. I find like either a load-in room, if they've got a holding room, or if they've got something like that. I load in. My table comes first with my laptops. I hide my laptops behind the table, and then I load in the rest of the gear. So, like, I can get speakers anywhere. I can call any one of my friends, dude, my speaker just got ripped off. I need a couple 12s, whatever, just bring them to this venue. I can get speakers in a minute, but I can't replace my music in a minute. I can't replace my hard drive in a minute. Those are the two crucial pieces of gear you can't just replace. It's not, okay, we can stream, but a lot of the places I go are remote and you don't have Wi-Fi or you don't have internet. It's just the way it is for me. And those are really important. So I try to get those in the venue first and I hide it behind the table. So I'll put my table up, I'll put those two bags behind it. It's my laptop and my backup. And then, I make friends with the people inside really fast. I'm like, hey, is there somebody here maybe that can give me a hand for 2 seconds? All they have to do is watch us. Just keep your eye on this.
Yeah. And like a couple of you said, money talks. Hey, dude, here's a 10 for 1 minute of work. Just stand here and watch, or 20, whatever.
Throw 20 at a valet and see how fast your car is in the best parking spot with 3 guys standing next to it.
100%.
Because they don't expect anything from us. You throw them a $10, $20 bill. Hey, man, I got to load out. Can you guys make the car somewhere near here?
Yeah.
Dude, it's a done deal.
I got an idea from what you guys said with the RCA cables. I'm going to write on my wireless mic boxes, I'm going to write RCA cables on the case.
They're highly valued in America. I don't know about Canada, but
maybe I won't lose a lavalier again.
It's the copper down here that they go for.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
How about you, Matt? How about you?
So, I guess I really haven't put as much thought into the backup plans or the security thing. I obviously try to stay close by my gear and just some of those sort of instinctual things to protecting your gear. One thing I was thinking about, though, as everybody was sharing here about having the backups, yes, have your backups, but also maybe some of those items have them in locations that are not the same place that you would store your main setup. So in other words, don't put a backup hard drive in the same bag as your laptop. So if somebody swipes one, you'll still have the other potentially. things like that. And when I think of a backup hard drive, I think about, okay, this is something I can plug in somewhere if my laptop crashes or whatever. I need to get another computer going right away. I didn't think about it in the instance of, well, what if my laptop is stolen? So yeah, put them in different locations. And then something that Buddy mentioned earlier, even though you have premiums, deductibles, and all of that, this is definitely a conversation where it also doesn't hurt to touch on the importance of insurance, and not just liability insurance, but also loss and theft insurance. So that's worth looking into. And several companies that offer the liability insurance for what we do also have an add-on option for those loss and theft scenarios. So it's definitely worth checking out.
Yeah, when I was, real active, I think that it was like $7.50 for theft protection.
Okay.
I'm like, $7.50 a month. That's worth it. I mean,
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
For sure.
Now, the last one left would be our soothsayer. How about
you? So much of this is common sense stuff.
Yeah.
For anybody who's really asking this question out there, I think in the old days we were much like the laptops and hard drives today. We were very protective over our records. So the rule was the records were the first thing to go in and the last thing to go out. So they were never exposed on the street kind of thing, because once you lose your records, you are done.
Yeah.
Back in those days, you might as well just retire. And a lot of people did. They had their CD case stolen or their record case stolen, and they were no longer DJs, and they had to go on and do something else because it wasn't even feasible or sometimes even possible to put that collection together again. So, it's like the laptop.
Right.
I like to bring it in first. If I'm going into a place, I bring it in with me when I go and say hello, put it in my staging area, and then bring everything in. And when I'm loading out, last thing to go out. As far as at home, I don't know. I mean, I don't mean this to sound the wrong way, but don't live in the hood. Don't play in the hood.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know what to tell you. If you live in the hood, you're going to get stuff stolen. But
I know you're feeding your family, but hey,
it's going to happen. But anybody else? I mean, I guess the best tips: well-lit house. Make sure your house is lit up. People, it's visible. It's not like it's hidden and dark and whatever. If you've got a dark corner somewhere in your home, like in your backyard, put some motion lights up, light it up.
Yeah.
And, Puerto Rican and Pitbull don't hurt. This is what I do. Nobody comes in my house. I dare them to come in my house.
For any questions about security at Brian's house, you can email johnyoung@djntv.com.
Come on in. Well, I dare you.
I'm doing another thing, and I know you do it, Brian, is I can fit everything I need on one rock and roller trip. So if I'm right there and I'm in, I'm there.
Right. That was the point I was going to bring up too. Consolidate.
Yeah. Yes.
You got tons of stuff. Yeah, there's a chance that something's going to walk away. But if you got a manageable amount of stuff, like Howie says, it's a one-trip deal. You don't have to worry about, unless you get mugged or something. No one's going to take your stuff. It's not going to be unattended in the truck, You just put it all in the cart and wheel it in if you can. Some people can't, but that's probably a smart thing to do.
Yeah.
And the other thing one more thing I was going to mention in regards to this, I do a lot of battery powered lighting. So some people, there's always the what if people. Yeah, but what if somebody comes in and takes my thing or whatever? I've never had anybody take a light. Now, Art borrowed lights and had some lights taken, but Art wasn't smart. Smart Art, you would think, but no, Art, not smart. Engineer, but sometimes wasn't thinking. So Art is putting lights somewhere where he can't see them.
Right.
I don't put anything anywhere where it's not in my line of sight. So I'm not lighting up the outside hallway. I'm not lighting up the outside of the building. I'm not lighting up around the corner. Everything is in my line of sight. And I know, like a normal, just a 6-par deal. I've got 6 pars. And I'm constantly looking for those dark spaces because I've got lights in places for a reason. If a light isn't there, if something isn't being illuminated anymore, either the battery died, which hasn't happened
No.
to me in a long time where someone took it and they're not taking stuff. So keep an eye on your stuff. You know?
Yeah. And if
They're not
you're like me, like mine or plug-in, if it goes out, it's usually somebody charging their phone.
charging their phone. Yep, that was a thing. Yeah, that was a thing.
Idiots.
That is bad.
Idiots.
It's just stuff like that helps. I mean, I talked to DJs on Manhattan. I'm just trying to figure out the logistics of that.
Yeah.
Trying to load into a venue in Manhattan, you know?
I saw Jeffrey Kwan do it. It's double parking and hustling.
Yep.
It's
around the block stuff?
insane. Yeah.
You've got like 3 people, one on lookout,
Oh,
one
yeah.
driving, one loading. It's
100%. There's
So-
zero parking. Well,
If they can do
even
it.
what Brian said, I got to touch on this. I mean, we laugh about, don't do gigs in the hood kind of thing. This is my other backpack, and it doesn't say anything on it. This
Right.
is what I took to New York City
Yeah.
because I was going to be walking around New York City with laptops in it. And my genuine concern was if I get off the plane and get on a train and my backpack says Pioneer DJ on the back, am I telling someone there might be something of value in here versus just a black backpack kind of melts into it? The other thing is I'm flying out this week for Boston, and this is how anal I've become. I have to put everything into bins because I only do carry-on. I don't check bags. My system is the last thing I put in a bin is my laptop, so that when I have to stand at the x-ray machine, when I come out of it, my sneakers and belt come out, then my backpack, then my suitcase, then my laptop. And I do that on purpose because if I get held up, they have to wand me or do whatever. The people in front of me have already gotten all their stuff. And now my stuff is at the end of the road with my laptop being right there. If you put your laptop first and there's a long line, what are you going to do? Come out, not find your laptop at TSA and go, granted, I don't think anyone's going to steal it, but think ahead. Keep your valuables as close to you as you can.
Sure.
I mean, if you wouldn't wear a Rolex to that gig,
Yeah.
A, like Brian said, maybe it's not the right gig.
Well,
But B, disguise things as best you can. Don't carry the box that says expensive battery-powered uplights. But cover stuff with a cheap beach towel if you have to. Make it look like you fit into Racine or whatever.
Well, funny you mentioned Racine. Buddy's played in Racine. He knows the deal down there.
You got shot there.
Now, hold on a second. Racine is not some of the places you got going on out by where you live.
Oh, please.
But
There are
it gets
places
a
I do
little
not
weird
play
at
out
night.
here.
It gets a little weird at night sometimes.
Oh, Edgar Winter, they only come out at night, I heard down there.
And Buddy can tell you this too. If you're doing a haul there, you got to have security. Like all the halls have security there.
Police officer.
Yeah. So
A
off
paid
duty
police
cop
officer
or
from the city.
whatever. So that's just the rules. If you're going to have a venue, you got to do this. So I've gigged down there, real nice venues before, but still there's a security there. So sometimes I'll say, hey, could you keep an eye on this? I'm pulling the truck back. I'm loading out. They're cool about it.
Yeah.
Another cool point that you touched on. I haven't done this in a long time, but I used to do it a lot before we had this house. I used to live next door. And next door has no driveway. So it's street parking. So if I'm gigging in the city, I don't want to go all the way out to the burbs to drop the stuff off and then come home. I want to come home.
Right.
To my woman. I want to come home. So how do I do this? I got stuff in the truck. So I would throw tarp over stuff.
Yeah.
I would hide stuff. Like you can't peek through the windows. The windows are tinted or whatever. But I had a blue tarp I would just throw over it. And, maybe they thought it was a drywall or something. They're going to bother it. But when I was street parking, I would do that. So,
yeah. I mean, if you in general have control over things, you're probably always going to be fine.
It's just common sense stuff mostly.
Yeah. If you want to leave, if you want to find out how secure things are, take a chance. Put a laptop on the front seat of your car and see how secure your car is. I mean, crime for the most part is opportunity. If somebody happens to see a chance You know, I think Buddy said it or Eric said it. You know, if the opportunity presents itself, there are people that may not normally be a criminal that might say, aha. I mean, broad daylight, I went to my gym today and I didn't want to unload the Jeep first. So I had gear in it and I had speakers, controllers, cables. I parked as close to the place as I could at noon with the alarm on, went in to work out for 40 minutes, but I still at one point walked over to the windows to just look out. I'm in a safe area and everything. But
I always try to, if I go into a restaurant,
of those things.
I'm even driving the Mustang. I try to park it where I can kind of see it.
Oh, exactly.
You know,
but why take a chance? People, it's not the same world that we think it is 20 years ago.
Well, I will say this too. Speaking of not the same world it was 20 years ago, we got stuff now that we didn't have then.
Right.
The tour stuff, like surveillance cameras everywhere. Like anywhere that's, you know, I don't know, into what's going on this century, they got surveillance cameras. The other thing I was going to
Every place has a ring. I don't know if you do. I don't. But I know for a fact that almost every single house on my street but me has a ring camera.
Me too. Yeah.
You can't.
My mom has one.
Yeah, you can't really go anywhere now without some sort of surveillance. But it doesn't matter. And, you know, when this is your entire music collection, this is your vinyl, my CDs, this is it right here.
Back it up, buddy.
If you carry two of these, which I do, just like they said, one of these goes in the backpack, the other one goes in a bag. And I did a video on YouTube years ago where I showed up at a gig and I opened up my bag and my hard drive was not there.
Yeah.
And before I lost my mind, 2 hours ahead in Fullerton, I remembered, oh, wait, my identical backup is in the backpack. I reached in the backpack and pulled it out. Now, my only fear that night was if the drive goes down, now I'm SOL.
Now, something else I was going to mention real quick, and then I'll yield to the man from Temecula, I promise. So something we didn't have 20 years ago that we have today, for those of you who are just convinced someone's going to steal your things, are things like Apple AirTags.
Oh, yeah.
You can track your stuff.
I was waiting for somebody to say that.
Have you used one?
No, because I'm not worried about anyone stealing my things, but some people do things that are preventative because they're worried that something's going to happen. And that is a cool way to just be like, all right, you know what? We're going to be cool.
Well, it's funny because Bailey, my dog, has one on her collar. So I know all throughout the day if she's moving around.
That's smart.
But B, when we just went to Tennessee, Michelle and I both brought a check bag. I have not checked a bag in 10 years. Every show I do a carry-on because I don't want to lose it.
Yeah.
And the entire flight, Michelle's like, yeah, the bag is 85 feet behind us. Right. Then we get to the first airport, get a drink, hang out. Oh, the bag moved. Oh, the bag's on another plane. Get to Tennessee. Oh, the bag's on a chute. Oh, there's the bag. Like it really, we, like Brian says, use the technology of the day.
Yeah.
And if you guys have iPhones or Android.
Lucky as me, my AirTag died when my bag got to Philadelphia when I come back from Atlantic City. So when I got back to Calgary, I looked at my bag. It's still sitting in Philly. I'm like, you got to be kidding.
So here's something that's better about today than the good old days. Stuff that's better.
It is so much better now. It is right.
Yeah. I explained to a photographer the other night, if you guys are really paranoid about flying with gear, let me give you the TSA tip of the day. I talked to my wedding photographer Saturday night. I said, do you ever do fly weddings? She goes, oh, yeah. I said, how do you move your gear? She goes, I really try to do all carry-on, but yes, sometimes I have to check it. I go, what do you check it in? She goes, I'll pack it in a suitcase and cover it with stuff. I said, just use a Pelican. She goes, yeah, but then people know what it is. If you put a starter's pistol in a bag, when you get to the airport, you have to declare a firearm. And they will seal your bag and give you a TSA form. You sign it, they sign it. The bag is then flown to its destination, taken from the plane and brought to a different spot where you will go pick it up with ID and sign for it and then leave the airport. And when you get to the airport, you don't say, I have a loaded gun. I have a starter's pistol. I do games at my weddings. I do games at my whatever. And I use this. Excuse me. I'm declaring it. It's in my check bag. No problems. We have to put a seal and a lock on it. And I learned that from a photographer like 10 years ago. So if you ever have to fly DJ gear somewhere and you're nervous, it's in a box or something, get a starter's pistol from a sporting goods store.
Or an AK-47.
Put it in.
Whatever.
That's a little tougher to sell, Brian, but nice to know you're thinking. And just tell them, hey, got a starter's pistol in there. I mean, there's always a way to kind of work around it. The old days, we used to mark our gear with, 35-digit numbers and this and that, like it was going to help. Your gear's not coming back. Some idiot stole it. It's in the hood. Somebody's doing a party, whatever.
Yeah.
But just do your best to keep your eyes on everything you've got. I mean, and like Howie says, cut back. Make one trip on a good ride. Spend $300 on a rock and roll cart and don't worry at all. Show up, load in, bang.
Yeah. I mean, that was like, I think if we ever did a best purchase ever would have to be.
Oh, rock and roll carts.
Because it's one trip. I mean,
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, definitely.
The only time I struggle with a rock and roll cart fully extended is on handicap ramps.
Oh, yeah.
Because I can't make the turn.
It is tight on those.
So sometimes what I'll do in that case is I'll do 2 trips. And I'm conditioned to 4 feet, and then it's pretty agile.
Yeah.
Then I'm down 2 trips. But if I don't have to use the disabled ramp with turn on it, I can use it fully extended 8-footer, and that fits in an elevator.
Yeah.
Right. It does.
Totally.
Yeah. Yeah. I had one venue told me, what do you think you're doing? And I said, I'm going up to the venue. I'm the DJ. Well, this is not a freight elevator. I said, it's not freight. It's, I'm doing this wedding, and, this does not weigh more than, a fat person that stops at McDonald's every night after a gig, and they laughed. They went, all right, go ahead, and they let me go in.
I mean, that's a whole nother show about the nice venues where the room is 100 feet away from the front door on the same level. Yes. But we have to go to the lower property, to the loading dock.
Through the kitchen.
Through the laundry area,
where they
up
keep
one
the dead
floor,
bodies.
Then another freight elevator up one floor. And then at the end of the night, we all know what we're going to do. We're just going straight out the front door, whether we get to work there or not again. And no one says a word to us.
Yeah, no, yeah.
100%. You go right out the door. No one says boo to you. And you're like, really? I spent half an hour loading in, and it took me 80 seconds to load out? Come on, guys.
Well, I just put a video on YouTube, and it shows the big carts, and I had to go through the loading dock. I had 2 6-foot full-size carts I had to use to get all the gear in. Through the loading docks, I felt like I was on an episode of Saw. These big doors are closing down on me. Like,
I think a lot of that, we get that downtown in Milwaukee where, or even out in Lake Geneva, the resort area, where they want you to use the loading dock.
Yes.
It's just a hassle most of the time. But
Man.
I think that goes back to the days where people had tractor trailers full of crap and they didn't want that stuff being dragged through their lobby.
Yeah.
Where what Howie was saying, make it a manageable load in. If you can make your stuff look like a baggage cart full of stuff, it's not a big deal anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
and I've even come across when I did the Hilton in Philly, they have those big carts, with that big thing that wraps around and it's
like the bell carts.
And I'm like, whoa, how lucky am I? I pulled right up. I put all my stuff on that, and you can go on an elevator. Nobody says a word to you. I fit everything on there,
Right.
Yeah, those are great.
Well, I mean, and to what Brian's saying about the tractor trailers, they're just accustomed to you going through it. The part that always makes me laugh, because I did a big event a few years ago, you're taking a black cart with black boxes, speakers, bags, cases, whatever, You go through their kitchen. No one knows who you are. You get to the next elevator. Hi, how you doing? You go up. You go through the back halls. No one says boo to us. No one's ever said anything to me like, who are you? What are you doing? And then you roll into a room with this cart. And the gig I did was a swearing in for a U.S. attorney. Excuse me. And the marshals were there. And they came over to me. They're like, is that your stuff? I said, yeah, I'm the DJ. She's like, could you step away, please? I need the bomb-sniffing dog to go through it.
Yeah.
And she did. And afterwards, I said, everything good? She goes, yep, you're all set. I said, it's really funny. We do this on a weekly basis. Every DJ I know wanders through hotels with carts just like this, and no one says a word to us. And she just kind of looked at me. She goes, really? I said, 100%. I could go to any hotel in any city at any time with a cart and just go in and say, I'm the DJ. And I think I told you guys last year, I had to park in the loading dock, and I had a half an hour to get ready and find parking. And because I'd gone out of my way to be nice to security, they said, you know what? Just leave your car there. If we have to move it, we'll come up to the ballroom and get your car keys. Right. I was like, man, thank you so much. Yes. They saved me 25 minutes of driving around looking for parking, even though it said no parking, because I went telling 23-year-old security guards, oh, thank you, sir. Appreciate it, sir. Thank you. Yada, yada, yada. I mean, it goes a long way. We can make friends very quickly. And I know everyone in this room is a professional, polite, knows what they're doing. But it bears repeating. The second you show up at a venue, make friends with everybody, the staff, say hello and hi, how you doing? You guys, you got half an hour? Hey, you guys want to hear some music before anyone arrives? Yeah, man, you got any techno? You got it. Whatever it takes, because they'll watch out for you. They really will.
Yeah, I always do that, and I do that when I'm breaking down. Everybody's gone, and the staff is there, and I'm like, everything except one speaker. And I go, what do you want to hear? I said, you have an iPhone? Here, plug it in, play your Spotify. And they're like, whoa, really? You know, they thought nobody else does that. You know,
yeah, the gig's over, Howie. At that point, screw them. Just get out.
Now that you mention it, though. I hadn't even thought about this, but when I do venues where I have to go in and kind of check in at the desk, they'll put me in touch with whoever, and the first question they ask me is, "How much stuff do you got?" Yeah. So they're trying to make a call.
Yeah,
just going through the front door, or do I got to send you around the thing? Right. So I think venues around here anyway are starting to kind of chill out on that goofy through the kitchen thing a little bit when they can.
The nicer the venue in California, the longer and harder the load in.
Same here.
The Ritz, the W at Hollywood and Vine, I've loaded in there like 8 times. There are 2 elevators to get upstairs. You're going through the parking lot. You're going through an outside door that's not marked. They go out of their way to keep you out of the view of the guests of the property. Yeah. And you're like, oh my God, where am I? Like,
when I first started working at
Potawatomi, asbestos? Like, it's crazy.
When I first started working at Potawatomi, I used to have to go through a security checkpoint every time.
Yes.
So I had to go in there to wait in line. They have to get somebody to go through my stuff and then escort me this windy thing up a set of elevators, windy thing, finally into the place where I was going to be gigging. Now, when I started working directly with the events manager there, I would load in the same door that the bands loaded in the concerts. They called it the Northern Light Stock. So that's where, you know, the Spinners or whoever came to play, that's where they would come in. And it was just like, okay, they open the door, say, hi, nice to see you. And you just go in. So they all vary.
They don't want to deal with us. We all know that. They security, front of house, nobody wants to deal with us. And the nicer you are when you like every time you pull into a property in valet, hey guys, how's it going? Hey, how you doing today? Good. Hey, I'm the DJ for a wedding upstairs. Do you know where I'm going to load in? Oh yeah, you're going to load in over at that door, but you're going to have to valet. Oh no, I'm totally cool with that. But is there a spot I could park just for now for load in, and then I'll give you my keys? Oh yeah, man. Pull over there. Bingo. Now I've got a spot. Now I've got a location, destination. Yeah. But, you know, because we're workers like them. If you pull the attitude of like, I'm the DJ crap, you're going to get it right back at you. But if you're just, hey man, you got a job to do, I got a job to do, you know, end of the night, I know you got a lot of cars here. Here's $20. You know, if I could be somewhere near up front, because I know they're going to go to the bar afterwards. I just want to load in, load out, and get out of your hair. Oh, you dude, no problems. You'll be next to the Lamborghini. I did it last year, and they literally put my car between a Ferrari and like a McLaren, and there's the Jeep Grand Cherokee sitting there.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, whoa. But you know what? The guys in the McLaren and the Ferrari probably didn't give him $20. He was like,
right.
They don't,
Probably.
they're working for
Probably.
money. They're not working for cool cars. They couldn't care less,
No.
Right.
you know?
Once they've driven 3 or 4 of them, they don't care anymore.
Yeah.
I had
They
the same last year when I got next to the Ferrari. I showed you the picture from last year. Same thing. You be
Yeah.
nice to the staff. They're good to you. And most of those really, really rich guys aren't that nice. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. That
Well,
is
hey,
true.
Most.
we're all working. And I think
Working.
the faster you gain respect with whoever you're talking to, regardless of their job,
Yeah.
housekeeping, security, front of house, doesn't matter.
Right.
If you're genuinely respectful to people, you'll be shocked. The guy pushing a broom has keys to every door in the place. If he knows there's a door next to the room where you're loading in and you were nice to him, he might be the guy that unlocks the door and boom, you just saved yourself walking the entire property length and you just pop right in. And
Yeah.
people, I've driven on golf cart pathways. I've driven on grass. I've driven past parties by pools. The nicer you are, the more they give you. Hey, is there an easy spot for me to load in? I don't want to get in your way. Actually, dude, you know, if you could take the fire emergency road in the back, and I'm like, hey, should I just leave my car up there after I load in? Yeah, go ahead, because we have all the valet filled. Okay, I'll just leave my car 10 feet from where I load in. No problems.
Perfect.
Right.
I mean, my gig Saturday night was one of 5 gigs this year at the same venue. I didn't bring a rock and roll cart. That tells you how close I can park to where I'm loading in. I did
Wow.
not need a rock and roll cart.
That's great.
So, you know, be nice. Just always, always be nice. It will get
That's
you
it.
so far.
It does. It really does.
Yeah.
So, hey, on that point, thank you all for tuning in. Be kind and come back next week. We'll be here.